And I think I also, I don't know if I brought up the whole fact that, like, if you think back in Vanilla WoW, you weren't supposed to kill civilians because, again, we're talking about a Cold War here, in which, like, it's kind of this shadow war where it's kind of this free for all, where the heroes are themselves supposed to be acting as free agents, and there's no necessarily open conflict between the two forces. So you kind of get into like a Shadowrun kind of deal, where we're talking about like some kind of shadow war, or like a war of assassins type deal, where like yeah, we're fighting each other, but we're not supposed to be like doing certain things. And I think part of it is like the balance of a gameplay perspective, because like if you kill civilians, it kind of makes it harder for people to actually play the game. Because you have to sit there and wait for them to respawn before you can use vendors, or the inn, or fly, or get your missions and quests. And so there were these penalties, and like if you killed too many civilians, um, your faction's guard would become hostile to you, like you become this outlaw. And I think once they killed you, it went away, or there was a time limit. I can't necessarily remember, and I think you could actually lose rep. So like, I think there was a whole point where you could, if you wanted to, like become red tooth. But again, I can't really remember because I never really took part a whole bunch of this. I mean, I leveled during vanilla, but I was never really part of this system, and I don't remember when they took that out because they got rid of it. They got rid of a lot of things, and I think the whole idea of the streamline, which to some extent, I mean, makes the game more accessible, but it also takes a lot of the fun and flavor out of the game. Like, I'm a person who leveled, like, my main used to be a hunter, and I loved arrows. I loved having quivers. Well, okay, no, I'll take that back. I didn't necessarily love having arrows and quivers. It was just, like the price you paid for being a hunter, but it was just this neat little thing. And of course, I think there's this whole annoying, like, well, if you play a hunter, part of the trade-off is you're only really going to have 4 bag slots that you can use. So your 5th bag slot's always going to be taken up by your quiver. You always have to carry around these arrows and make sure that you bought tons of arrows. Of course, if you were an engineer, I'm pretty sure. No, I don't know if repair, but like there were general vendors that you could buy ammo from. And definitely later on, when you had the mounts, as long as they had a general vendor, you could buy ammo from them. And of course, that was the neat thing again about being an engineer was you could just make your own ammo. Of course, the ammo you made was better, and it was this cool thing that engineers did. Because now that's not a whole lot engineers can do. I think there's still pets you can make and that you can sell, but as like engineering is not very profitable. Well, there's also the mounts, but those take the reason those are so expensive is because they take a long time to create.
Right.
So
Strength and honor. Go forth to victory.
I have no clue what I just did. Um. So there's this kind of civility to it because it's this Cold War that no one really wants to fight. And of course, Jaina's like, no, we shouldn't be fighting like this. And Thrall's like, no, we shouldn't be fighting like this. And then, but after the Wrathgate, after Wrath of the Lich King, like that all changed. And like I said, I mean, Varian had a murder boner, Garrosh had a murder. Of course, a lot of Garrosh's actions were, in a lot of ways, like made sense. I mean, even though we're talking about it like right now, like here we are. I'm in Stonetalon Mountains, and I'm pretty sure this used to be all forest down here, and well, it's not forest anymore because we need these trees. And of course, the elves are opposing us, and I guess that's the alliance are opposing us. But like, we need these resources to properly defend ourselves and other stuff, and like Grosh isn't really wrong. I mean, if like we're gonna fight a war, we need to fight a war. And so like it's just this is something that's a long time coming, and I think there's a lot of people who have they've wanted this. They wanted this to finally, and I kind of wish this would just be the end of it because really I saw no reason at the end of Wrath of the Lich King why we couldn't actually just talk things out and like finally just end this conflict and have actual peace between the two. And then but then it's like, well, then there wouldn't be world PvP because like there wouldn't be a war. So how are we gonna fight PvP if there's no war? Well, the battlegrounds I think is plenty PvP, but like of course there's people who probably play this game specifically for world PvP, and I think Blizzard is like bending the whole experience just so that they can have that. And even though in a lot of sense it doesn't make sense. Like here we've had not only do we have to fight the Lich King, which is like this kind of world-ending event, and then we have to fight Deathwing and fend off a world-ending event, and then defeat the Shah, which is a world-ending event. Which plus there's that whole thing with Thunder Isle, which I can't, which yeah, the Isle of Thunder, which is pretty neat, and I wish I'd been able to play through all of it. Um, where again like the Pandarans are like schooling us like, hey, this whole like World War thing is kind of dumb and you should stop doing it because you're gonna kill everybody. And then so we have Warlords of Draenor because we have to fight the Iron Horde, which is a world-ending event. Even though I don't remember if there really was any PvP in Warlords. Yeah, there was PvP and there was that whole island thing, which was kind of I think stupid. Um, but I don't think there really was a whole overarching story other than the fact that, well, we're the Alliance here, the Horde. We should be fighting each other because isn't this what this whole thing is about? Like, no, I'm pretty sure the whole thing is to stop the Iron Horde. Like, we should maybe put our differences aside and fight the Iron Horde. And then the Legion comes back. It's like, oh, we need to put our differences aside and fight the Iron Horde. Even though Jane, of course, is just having a huge bitch fit because they let the Horde back into Dalaran. She's like, oh, I can't believe you're gonna do this. Because even though I was, the conscience of the Alliance, I'm just super pissed because my town got blown up, even though I'm pretty sure all my people are just fine. Like, oh my god, Garrosh, even though like he paid for his crimes. Are they gonna keep blaming the Horde for that? I just... And then of course the whole like Legion was finally they kind of made some sense because like it really wasn't PvP in the Horde versus Alliance. It was more of like Gen fighting Sylvanas. So you have the Worgen versus the Undead, which kind of just made sense. It's a continuation, and that's why I like to call it Gen's Little War. And you're just fighting over those towers, and that was the world PvP, and like that made sense. Because I felt that like the Horde and Alliance